Hi, I'm Steve Sass,
And I'm Amanda Smith.
and we're the founders of Indiana Nature LLC, an ever expanding educational initiative dedicated to celebrating and protecting Indiana's natural heritage.
We've both been interested in nature for many years. We've studied everything from trees and wildflowers, birds, and even reptiles and amphibians. But today we're here to talk to you about our shared interest in moths and butterflies. We will introduce you to the amazing world of Lepidoptera and how you can be involved with tracking them.
So, what the heck is a Lepidoptera anyway?
Well, Lepidoptera is an order of insects consisting of moths and butterflies.
The word Lepidoptera comes from the Greek word lepis, meaning scales, and pteron, meaning wings. Scales are modified hairs that cover the otherwise transparent wings of butterflies and moths.
This photo is a magnified view of what the scales look like up close. The scales overlap each other like tiny roof shingles. If you've ever touched the wings of a butterfly or moth and felt the powder on your fingers, that's the crushed residue of the scales.
So, how can you tell the difference between a moth and a butterfly?
Moth and butterflies are closely related and sometimes difficult to tell apart, but here are a few characteristics to look for.
Most butterflies are diurnal, meaning that they are active during the day, whereas most moths are nocturnal, meaning that they are active at night.
Also, take a close look at the antenna. Butterflies always have a clubbed antenna. Moths, on the other hand, can have a variety of antenna styles ranging from straight to very feathery, as the photos show, but they're never clubbed.
Butterflies typically have small bodies and large wings, while moths typically have large bodies with smaller wings.
In the order Lepidoptera, there are many more species of moths than butterflies. In fact, for every one species of butterfly, there are about 9 species of moth.
Both butterflies and moths go through 4 cycles of life: eggs, caterpillars, sometimes called larvae, pupae, which is also called the cocoon or chrysalis, and adults. Collectively, this is called complete metamorphosis. Each life cycle looks very different than the other.
Adult moths and butterflies are typically the most noticeable and easiest to find. However, the caterpillar stage of development can also be observed as well. Most caterpillars are only able to eat leaves of specific native plants. Scientists refer to these plants as host plants. When looking for caterpillars of a certain species, check the leaves of their host plants.
Our curiosity of moths and butterflies inspired us to start tracking them through a project called the Great American Indiana Nature Lepidoptera Project. With the help of over 1,000 observers, we've documented over 1,600 species of moths and over 100 species of butterflies in the last 3 years. We'd love to have your help in observation, but first let's explore why Lepidoptera are important.
Lepidoptera are important for a variety of reasons, but let's focus on a few. One of the most important roles moths and butterflies play is as a component of the food web. They are a food source for many other animals and are eaten in all stages of life. Caterpillars are perfectly sized, readily found, and a food source for many species of wildlife. In particular, most species of birds rely on caterpillars to feed their young while they are still in the nest. The chickadee that you have in your yard needs about 7,500 caterpillars for one clutch of hatchlings. Frogs, amphibians, wasps, mammals, and even fish also eat caterpillars. Adult moths and butterflies are also eaten by many species of birds and bats.
Many moths and butterflies are pollinators as well. Flowers that produce nectar provide a food source that many butterflies and moths drink with an elongated mouth part called a proboscis. While the moths and butterflies are sipping nectar, they're dusted with pollen from the flower. That pollen is then transferred to the next flower that it visits. This pollen transfer helps to fertilize flowers, which will then produce seeds and hopefully more plants. Many types of plants rely on pollinators like moths and butterflies for reproduction.
Lepidoptera are also valuable environmental indicators that scientists and ecologists use to gauge the health of our ecosystem. Moth and butterfly populations can be sensitive to changes in the environment. Therefore, the decline of certain species can indicate a much larger problem that could impact the entire food web, including humans. Habitat destruction, climate change, pollution, plant species declines and extinctions, and chemicals like pesticides are all measurable impacts shown in moth and butterfly populations. Now that we know why moths and butterflies are important, let's discuss why they are amazing.
If moths and butterflies are such good food for so many things, how do they keep from being eaten? We'll show you some cool strategies that they use.
Many moths are great at camouflage. That's hiding themselves by blending in with their surroundings. In these pictures, can you tell what each moth is trying to disguise itself as?
If you said dead leaves, you'd be right. These moths hide themselves by looking like leaf litter.
Other moths try to blend in with other materials such as bark, twigs, rocks, or even man made objects like walls and concrete.
Sometimes the larvae are even camouflaged to look like a leaf or a flower. Some moths will even try to look like something else. What do you think that these moths are trying to look like?
Bird poop?
Did you look at the answer? Yes, bird poop. Even birds don't like to eat bird poop.
Eye spots are often used to scare predators into thinking that the moth or butterfly is a larger animal with big eyes.
There are even some types of moths that mimic other insects, like wasps, which can sting, or fireflies, which don't taste good.
The caterpillar of the walnut sphinx moth will make a loud whistle sound if a predator comes around. The hickory horndevil looks scary and dangerous as possible to evade predators.
Are there any butterflies or moths that can actually hurt us, though?
Yes, there are caterpillars that can cause a mild or sometimes even extreme irritation to our skin if they are touched or handled. The best rule of thumb with insects and other animals is to observe them with our eyes and not by touching. Now that we see how cool butterflies and moths are, what are the best ways of looking for them?
Moths and butterflies can be found in every type of habitat in Indiana. Wetlands, prairies, and forests all have their specialized species. The most important factor to finding moth and butterflies is habitat-rich plant diversity. Although urban and suburban areas lack the plant diversity of natural areas, there's still a good chance that you can find moths and butterflies in your own neighborhood.
Butterflies are most commonly spotted in the daytime. Look for them around flowers they use for nectar and around the host plants they lay their eggs on. Some moths fly during the day, like clearwings, and they can also be found around flowers. Most moths, though, are nocturnal. Several are attracted to artificial lights, so simply turning on your porch light for a few hours can attract them. Most of the time, moths will allow us to get close enough to take their photo, as long as we move slowly and try not to disturb them. Some of my best photographs of moths have been taken with my cell phone just under my porch light. One time I found a moth called a curved line owlet under my porch light, which was rarely reported in our state. We hope that you might be interested in looking for moths and butterflies now as well. We can explain how to join us.
If you have a photo of a moth or butterfly, you can consider joining those of us who contribute to the Great American Indiana Lepidoptera Project. All you need to submit a sighting into the project is your name, the county it was seen, the date it was seen, and the photo. You don't have to know the species of moth or butterfly to submit. We're happy to identify them for you. You can email us with the information and photo, or use social media with your parents' permission to submit your sightings.
Your sightings help us build web pages about the species of Lepidoptera found in our state. With your submissions of photos and data, we can compile flight times, range maps, population totals from year to year, and great images to the website. These web pages serve not only as a resource for amateur and professional lepidopterists, but for anyone interested in learning about these fascinating insects.
We've really enjoyed talking to you about Lepidoptera, and we hope that you've learned more about moths and butterflies, gained more understanding of their important role in the ecosystem, and maybe even will look for them when you are outside in nature. Bye now.
Bye.